Story number 3, Oshrat Carmiel. We're going to go to you with this piece. This is a piece that came out of New York Post, and you actually wrote the story, so you might not be able to comment, but you could probably provide some insight for us. New York Post. I'll read you the headline and read you the first couple graphs, and I want you to just provide any kind of insight you can. Headline, how South Florida is winning the nation's real estate war. First couple graphs. It's a boom time in South Florida. In downtown Miami, ground is being cleared for Florida's tallest office tower, 1.4 million square feet to be filled by firms that have yet no actual presence in the state. Condo towers branded as the St. Regis and the Waldorf Astoria are also planned for the area. Their completion is years away, but their unbuilt units are largely claimed with buyer deposits. The same thing further north in West Palm Beach, where the arrival of financial giants such as Goldman Sachs and BlackRock set office rents to record highs during the second quarter of this year. Now, new workplaces with private terraces and access to yacht charters arising along the city's waterfront would builders plan condos for those future employees. Oshrat, what the hell is going on? Why is everybody still coming? During the pandemic, people moved down here because the state of Florida basically was very open. It didn't have the mask issue that you found in other parts of the state, even the world. So everybody came here. But now I thought everybody's going back to the office and they can't live in South Florida. But yet your story is saying that they all still want a piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the question that was sought to answer is like, is it over? You know, but if you look at the development, at least the development, the answer that by developers and investors is no. Not only is it not over, we're building for people who aren't even here yet. You know, we're planning on them coming. I mean, I think that was generally the theme of the story. And yet, you know, you have condos that are not going to be done till 2027 and are now mostly have deposits on them. So we looked at that and we looked at the fact that, you know, other pandemic boom towns like Austin are not doing so well, you know, Phoenix not doing so well. So no, the people are still coming here. I think that they're either not going back to the office or they're going back to the office part-time and you know, going to the office here the other part of the time. I mean, the kind of the symbiosis with like New York and Florida is still happening. I mean, I think the idea is that you could just pick an office and I think people are picking it here. I mean, I know that's part of what brought us down here.
No. Oshrat, in your piece, and let me bring this up, and then I want you to comment. Basically, everybody says down here in Florida, 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida, 1,000 people a day. I've been here for 30 years, and every year they said 1,000 people a day. They never say how many are leaving, but they always say 1,000 a day are coming. So in your piece, it says Florida is the #1 destination for professionals aged 25 to 36, earning at least $200,000, according to a recent report by financial advisory firm Smart Assets. Most crucially, high earners arriving in Florida have outnumbered those departing by over 3 to 1 in recent years. And along with youth and jobs, the newcomers are coming with cash, snapping up homes in a state that doesn't have nearly enough of them. Oshrat, how much of this do you think has to do with the fact that during the pandemic, people got accustomed to telecommuting, if you will, working from home? And now, because of technology and because of this more openness or acceptance of it, people can actually be based out of Florida or South Florida in particular, and they can work for a firm out of New York and California. Is that the driving force? Or is there something else, maybe quality of life? People got spooked by everyone they saw dying and the numbers of people dying. And maybe they said, you know, screw it, I'm in now, let me live the quality of life. So what did you find out when you were reporting?
I think it's both. I mean, I think on one level, you know, if you work for a major financial firm, and your financial firm's opening up an office in Florida, you can go back to the office and still live in Florida. In some cases, you had people who were already here, and the employers looked and said, you know, gosh, half my staff is already down here. Might as well just take up an office space. So, yeah, I mean, I think your finding is that once you did live down here for a year, you don't really want to go back to the way it was. I mean, I think back to the way things were, and you know, you say, wow, you know, how did I live without palm trees? How did I live without access to water every day? So I think it's that, but I think that firms are making that possible. I mean, and when I look around, I mean, anecdotes aren't data, but when you look around to all the other New Yorkers that I meet, everybody is working here part of the time, commuting to New York sometimes every other week, or California every other week. And I think that that's just an acceptable way to split your time. And so if it is, then why not make Florida your primary residence? I mean, if you can. So.
It's interesting. Mr. Fakler, I want to go to you based on a quote that comes out of Oshrat's piece. This quote's coming from Ken H. Johnston. He's a housing economist with Florida Atlantic University. Mr. Fakler, you got to Florida in the 1980s, okay? So let me just set the scene. Here's the quote from Mr. Johnston, the professor. The old 1980s Florida is disappearing. And he goes on to say, we're not just getting those retirement communities, fixed income folks. we're used to. We're getting people with significant incomes, and they usually are bringing in work and jobs with them. Mr. Fakler, can you speak on behalf of those people from the 80s who lived in South Florida, and how much has it changed?
Well, first of all, it was the late 80s. Don't age me too much.
All right.
No, I think I made the comment previously that, I came down here. You had maybe 5 blocks on South Beach that were, livable. It was cheap. You could buy a condo for 35 grand. And certainly you could make it on a lower salary. So as far as this $200,000 number, someone didn't send me the memo. I mean, those kind of numbers, you talk about a difference. Back then it was you came to Florida to live a good life and live cheap. No longer the case.
And they used to call it the sunshine tax. You would make less, but yet you got the sunshine in return, and that was sort of the trade-off. That's what people used to say.
Absolutely.